Hi, welcome. On this video, I'm going to be responding by way of Robert Cabral, pictured here. The title of this video, which I talk about, okay, from the perspective as to the real source of the problem in the dog training world, the real lie that training is being marketed as a learning-based exercise once a relationship problem is already underway between a dog and the owner. And again, I talk about how this sets in motion by way of how balanced trainers, force-free trainers, are engaging a relationship problem by way of motivating dogs to respond in a very superficial way at the very beginning of a relationship problem, while assuming that those responses can be trusted as representing some sort of a standard, the typical sit down, come and stay, which I show very clearly is inherently flawed at its very core. Again, based on a failure to even understand what training represents once a relationship problem is underway by way of a intervention, okay, versus a learning-based exercise. And with a process that is defined by way of bringing the two core ingredients I talk about, influence and control, into a process by way of a intentional interaction-based method. So when I talk about trainers that are motivating dogs to respond, I talk about why that's a problem. I don't motivate dogs to respond that way. It's about understanding, it's about the relationship. Okay, so the motivator is the relationship, okay, based on the social aspect of what this connection represents. And then again, aligning with a process that's going to bring those core ingredients in and change perceptions of dogs, which again aligns with diminishment of unwanted behavioral issues. Now, here again, I want to respond to this because again, we talk about balanced dog trainers who are marketing, okay, this ideology right up front here, okay, based again on what's happened in the dog training world. I talk about this whole issue about censorship. You're seeing many trainers out there who are engaging in copyright strikes, okay, for those who are, doing breakdown videos such as this one here. I follow the fair usage guidelines, okay, so, but still, by way of YouTube, you're seeing trainers, balanced dog trainers. This is becoming a trend now, trying to censor, shut down the conversation because they're not even having that discussion. Okay, they're not talking about what the real problem is. This is all just about marketing. And, this is how, again, I talk about everything being twisted. This ideology, I source it out as problematic by way of engaging in blame shifting on the dogs. This is where I see a lot of these trainers even going into shelters with treats in their hand, engaging at that level. So I talk about this issue about bribery and what's revealed or not revealed by way of using treats to connect, to get dogs to respond. And again, this offers up a false image of nature at the response level. And this leads into, again, people assuming that, even within shelters that, well, how these dogs even end up in here because they look fantastic when you're engaging that way. And so, again, it's all about this whole appearance-based narrative. So, again, I'm going to be responding to this video because, again, the title here, The Truth About the Lies in the Dog Training World. But the question is, well, what does that mean to a balanced dog trainer, okay, who's actually aligned with the big lie that training's a learning-based exercise? So I'm going to play some of this because, again, this plays into all the divisiveness. You talk about all this back and forth between these two groups of trainers, balanced, force-free. Then you see imbalanced dog trainers going after each other in social media. And I even talk about this whole thing about, these trainers, staying within their ideological kind of comfort zone so that if they're talking with each other on their podcasts, and even this back and forth with Force Free, where they don't really have a problem with that in terms of copyright strikes because it's within their ideological kind of narrative. So they're still able to gain traction, ideologically, versus someone like myself, confronting in a very direct way, based again on specific information as to here's the source of the problem. So training is not a learning-based exercise. This is, again, when you look at connect all the dots. I encourage you to watch the debate I did with Miracle Canine Balanced, who, again, were open to having me go on, which is very rare, okay, to actually connect dots, talk about the real issue, versus, again, what you're seeing in the dog training world, this type of a, pretending to care, marketing this ideology, all the inherent problems. I go through all of it in terms of the blame shifting on the dogs as a result of a counterfeit picture within the framework of response, breed specific bans. Now you're seeing device bans happening through all the confusion, and on and on and on and on it goes. And now you're seeing this type of censorship, copyright strikes through YouTube. And that's why I encourage people to check out my Rumble channel, okay? The whole Ivan Belanov situation, where through my series, again, talk about play-based training, okay? And the copyright strike, being triggered off. And I talked through all of it, just the hypocrisy of all of it. And so again, meanwhile, the dog training world is coming apart at the seams, okay? You see it, and on it goes. So again, I'm going to play some of this video. I'm not going to play all of it. Some of this pertains to, talking about dog food. So I'm going to skip through some parts of it here where Robert Cabral is talking about from the balanced dog training, lens, through the lens of balanced dog training, the truth about the lies in dog training.
I want to do this live because a couple of things I want to talk about before I do the live. I noticed these last few weeks, and you saw that I was very, inactive on social media for a while. And I just am seeing this cesspool
with so many children
that is social media. And it is such garbage that's going on. This fighting between dog trainers and people. And I think social media has really brought about the ugliest side of humanity.
So here, same thing, the blame shifting on the social media. Understand, social media is just another tool, okay? It's a vehicle, right, to communicate, to market. And so same thing here going on, saying, well, social media has become a cesspool. Well, no, it's just actually the ability for people to be able to put forward, right, their agenda, okay, for those to be able to communicate, and so again, it's just another vehicle. And so, this thing with social media is showing, because here it is, it gives everyone a voice basically to put forward, right, their idea about whatever it is. And in dog training, before social media, okay, understand that before social media, balanced dog training existed, this force-free idea of things. We'll go right back to 1923, before social media, where this all started through behavioralism. Okay, so understand this has nothing to do with social media. This started way back with Pavlov and Skinner, with, again, not undertaking to study dogs the right way, okay, at the social level. I talk about that. So since that time, this has been on a slow boil. The problems have never gone away. It's just that things have escalated through social media, the ability to put out. So again, this whole thing of how things are being marketed. So it's escalated because it's bringing people into kind of this, funneling all the information through, and it's just igniting everything. Okay, it's like people being able to, market. So it's really not an issue about social media as much as it is the fact that this is problematic from the beginning.
I mean, it's just really horrible when I see what's going on. And then people chasing this phony dream that doesn't exist. I mean, everything is polished, everything is shiny, everything is perfect, everything is this, everything is.
Talk about shiny and perfect. Yeah, again, I'll stop this a lot. I'll stop this a lot. Think about talking about appearances. How this idea is based on superficial response. Okay, so talk about polished. Even when you get this whole issue about, and I would encourage you to do it. The thing about narcissism nowadays, that's like seems to be a popular, topic on social media. How society has become very superficial, very selfish. But you go through this ideology, okay, this idea of what training is. I would challenge you to do that based on what it represents. I talk through it. And it goes through, and you'll be able to check all the boxes off through the characteristics of narcissism by way of appearances, right? False narratives, blame shifting. You go through devaluation, you go through, and you'll be able to check off those 14 boxes. That's very interesting. It lacks depth, right? False identity, all of it. It's incredible. So, you talk about polished, and so you talk about social media, you talk about appearances. Well, it's a perfect vehicle for this based on what it represents to market. That's why I say about TikTok, the kind of before is like, 1 minute videos. Well, if it's all based on appearances, well, how perfect is that through a platform like TikTok to market that which is superficial anyway? Okay, understand that this is what's going on.
That, and then add to that the toilet of the arguments back and forth. And I noticed being off of it, this immense freedom.
So you talk about the toilets of the arguments. Well, understand that this ideology, whether it's through balance and force free, I understand both these groups align with the same idea of things. I mean, think of what I'm saying. They approach training as a learning-based exercise. And so, you talk about, what's happening. So this whole divisive thing that's happened in the dog training world. And so you got all these trainers all over social media, right, just pushing this stuff.
This immense, like, not checking on stuff, not really caring because it's not real. Social media is not real. I mean, those of you who are tuning in here, you might say, well, this isn't real. I mean, here's the thing, guys. I try to bring you content to help you with your dogs, to make the world a better place for dogs, to help people better understand dogs through the knowledge I've gained. I've been doing this for a long, long time. And, I really, again, I say this really kind of now.
We'll talk about this too, this thing about, and again, this all goes into, whenever Cabral's talking or any trainer's talking, it really alludes to certain things, right? This whole, this goes, when I hear statements being made from some of these trainers, it reminds me of statements such as, there's more than one way to train a dog, right? This type of a ideological peace treaty, between these two groups, force-free and balanced. But ask yourself the question, where did that statement come from to begin with? Is there really more than one way to train the dog? Like, that doesn't even make sense because you have to say, well, who's right and who's wrong here? Well, when you start to see what's going on here by way of at a response level with appearances, well, there just appears to be more than one way to train a dog because this idea itself lacks depth. Okay, it's all based on appearance, all based on superficial response. So even the statements take on new meaning and you put them under the light of the information I'm putting out. Because this has been going on. So, and then when you take everything that's happening, you see the level of, say, divisiveness that's really increasing. I predicted this a long time ago, based again on the fact that this isn't based on truth. This is based on a lie. And so every lie, there's consequences. It all unravels at some point. It doesn't matter if it's delayed. Right from the very beginning with, through behavioralism, you start to see how this layers up. And, and it's been on a slow boil. It's been a long time. But sooner or later, it will unravel. Understand that this is what you're seeing. You're seeing an unraveling now. You're seeing this because, this ideology, if there's nothing to truly confront it through the truth, then it's going to manifest this way. It's going to unravel. There's nothing stopping it. And so balanced dog trainers, they're being challenged like never before by way of force free. So I see guys like Zach George, the only reason Zach George even can get away with saying the stuff he's saying is because of the confusion, and the fact that balanced dog trainers are part of that confusion. And so there's no clarity. I come out and say training's not a learning-based exercise. Well, there's the line right there. But what does that do? That triggers, that upsets balanced dog trainers as much or even more so than force free. And then you ask yourself the question, well, why is that? And then take all the problems, and you'll see just how massive this really is. This is like massively problematic.
Now, even more heavy-heartedly, I've got more years behind me than in front of me. A lot of these young guys coming in, I remember one guy made these comments to me. He said, you're a pathetic old man. I thought, first of all, you wouldn't say that to my face because you're a little punk. But just the fact that somebody can be that callous, we were never that callous, back when I was young. We respected elders. And now that I'm 60, I guess I'm somewhat of an elder. But, and I don't need your respect, whoever these people are. But I just see this callousness and also this bravado that comes around from being behind a keyboard.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's a lot to be said about that, but still the fact remains is it's about truth. How do you push back an ideology? Well, it doesn't come through, more lies. It doesn't come through being aligned with this. It comes through the truth. This is why I get in this whole issue about censorship. What's happening. It's very interesting that many of these trainers, they have all sorts of stuff to say on social media, but then, ask yourself the question, are they really willing to confront the problems in the dog training world? I mean, they're really willing to face off on those, even if it means for them to challenge their own idea of things. Absolutely not. Okay, understand that this goes deeper than just, questioning at a, again, superficial level here about, some of the issues here. This goes right to the heart of what the real problem is by way of this idea that trains a learning-based exercise. And balanced dog trainers have bought into the lie. Understand that. And so there's no backing out. So I'm going to leave it right here. Just, again, I'm only like 3 minutes in to this. This goes on for an hour. But that's the point of everything, is you don't have to go far in at all. I mean, it starts at the beginning of what a process is. I talk about that. And so I'll do another part or two here on this, just to hit some key talking points. But the biggest point of all is understand that the dog training world's in a mess for a reason. I mean, there are no accidents or coincidences here. It's all connected. So I encourage you to check out the information I put out. It's very specific as to the problem, but the solution as well in terms of a intentional interaction-based method. Thanks for watching.